Hello, lovelies. I got a concerning email this morning from an artist who would like to work with me, but has seen my occasional use of AI and is worried and concerned by that and won't work with people who use AI as a sort of point of principle. So I'm making this video, even though I've already replied to the email, as a way to convey my sincerity and to update people who might be watching on where I'm at with AI as a process, as a creative. I won't read out the content directly or identify them because an email is private, but my hopes are see, an AI wouldn't make that mistake. My hopes are that this will help other people understand where I'm coming from, maybe inform their own positions, and so on. This is not a final sort of decision or stance. My position on AI art is constantly evolving and changing as we get new data, as I think about it more, and as I get communications like this. So I use AI quite often on YouTube without too much compunction or worry or concern, because I view YouTube as kind of a throwaway concern anyway. I don't really pay much, if anything, for any of the assets that I use on YouTube. Either they're taken from Google image searches and so on, or from stock or clip art sites, or I have a lifetime membership of my video editing software, so I get a whole bunch of assets and so on for free there. I don't think many people use that many paid for assets on YouTube, and I view using AI art on YouTube as being slightly more ethical than what I have been doing beforehand, which is just taking art from Google image searches and using them. So it seems to me that it's slightly more ethical, at least, to use AI art to produce new pieces, rather than using what other people have produced and then relying on them enforcing their rules, or chasing people for use of their art. The only time I've really run into any trouble was when another RPG publishing company came after me for using a piece of art which was supposed to depict me. So unpick that one legally if you can. I also view YouTube particularly as being kind of ephemeral art. It's not anything permanent or particularly meaningful beyond the moment, and so I use art on YouTube in the way that club flyers and zines and so on used to. You would find like industrial nights at the local club using artwork directly lifted from 2000 AD, for example, to promote their goth industrial night or whatever. I view that as being largely fine, and so I view my use of either blagged art off Google image search as fine, or the use of AI as fine, but slightly more fine than the stolen art. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not like I was going to employ anyone when it comes to YouTube art anyway. I don't make enough off YouTube to pay people to produce art, nor does YouTube operate on the timescale where that would be possible either. So I hope that's clear. Another point of contention is that people feel that it is not fair or right that these AI art producing systems are scraping people's art, training the model using people's art. okay, I understand where you're coming from there, but how do I differentiate what AI is doing there from what human artists do? Like, human artists will learn from other artists. They will copy their pieces. They will mimic their style. I'm an art school dropout. I remember at various points in my art education copying, say, Cubism for a piece, or copying a particular artist for a piece, and the idea was that we would learn, pick up, develop, take certain things from their methodology or their style and incorporate it into our own. At Marvel Comics, new artists were usually first charged with copying someone else's art, so that there would be a sort of continuity of style between the different comics and different artists taking over and so on, until they developed their own style, their own name, and then could make the switch. What about collages? Collages explicitly take pre-existing art, take it out of its original context and place it into a new one. That's really similar to what AI art does, except AI art goes down to the pixel level and remixes stuff. And collages constitute a new piece of art despite being derived from other pieces of art. So, it's a head scratcher. How can I differentiate what AI art does by ingesting and mixing and remixing, thousands upon thousands of influences, and what a human artist does with either a collage or learning their own style? Should artists give consent and get compensation? Probably. I think we can agree on that, but no matter how hard I think, I can't really differentiate what AI art does that is unacceptable compared to what human artists do, which is acceptable when it comes to this. And I'm concerned that if we're overzealous in our legislation or whatever other changes come down the pipe on this, that we're going to end up affecting human artists as well, and basically banning things like collage. That doesn't seem to me to be a very, very good outcome. Does any of this call my anarchism into question? I want, as an anarchist, my lighthouse is, I want the greatest freedom for the greatest number. Should an anarchist respect the idea of intellectual property law? Should Disney be allowed to maintain its intellectual property rights over Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie in perpetuity, to take a recent example? Or should works enter the public domain? Should they enter the public domain sooner or later? If, as a left-wing anarchist, I value the commons, shouldn't I want more stuff to be in the commons? Shouldn't I want the liberating capability that AI produces to be available to more people? Because a lot of these tools are essentially free, and they allow people who otherwise wouldn't be able to produce works of art, works of fiction, works of human expression. Ironically enough, it enables a lot of people who previously couldn't do that to do that. So isn't that a liberating technology, a disruptive technology that places more freedom in the hands of more people? I don't think it's as simple or as cut and dried as this is bad and wrong and against, libertine, small L, libertarian, anarchistic beliefs. Because, punk used, to reference back, a lot of collage, the various music and aesthetic movements that I've been into have often just nicked stuff and, and reused it. Yeah, the street finds its own use for things, you might say. So I don't think this is as clear or cut and dried as someone might think, because it is a very liberating technology. I mean, the Red Room, for example, probably wouldn't exist as a company without AI art. Certainly wouldn't have been able to produce work as quickly as they have using AI art. So there's a whole company that was doing quite well for a long time there, that wouldn't exist without AI art. And that's true for a lot of people. So whatever my personal compunctions, one way or the other, what is actually going on? It doesn't make it any easier to decide here. But ideals and pragmatism often come into conflict. Idealistically, maybe I agree more with this person who emailed me, but pragmatically, I have to compete with people who are perhaps even more idealistic than I am. I do still commission art for my projects, and I'm paying 150% of what I used to, which means the rest of the budget is under even more tight constraints. I use stock art where I can. Where I do use AI art on actual paid-for projects, it's as filler, or if someone has let me down, an artist, because artists are flakes. Writers are worse. I say that as a writer, but artists are pretty bad. I've got to get the work out. I've got to get it producing money, and if someone flakes on me or doesn't produce what's needed, then AI is a quick solution that saves the project, right? Even if it runs into some prejudice and so on, like this. It can be a matter of necessity. AI art also makes smaller, more focused, less broadly appealing projects suddenly viable, because you can produce art at the cost of nothing or next to nothing for them. But I'm not going to stop using human artists. But AI it's good that it's there as a fallback, as a backup, as something that enables smaller projects to turn a profit. I don't know where all this is going to settle. Some people are incorporating AI art into their art process, Jim Burns being a great example. It's not a competition, but I'd say that arguably writers have it worse, but have less fanfare than artists do, because human communication is much more of a visual medium now. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. You have to have art, you have to have an image, and maybe that's a big part of what's driving all this. But writers are getting forgotten to a large extent. I mean, there are writers now whose style and types of title and so on are being copied. AI is churning out fake books, and even their name is being used to try and sell those books on Amazon, and Amazon's unwilling to do anything about it. That strikes me as several steps worse than what is going on with artistic AI. But I'm old enough to remember when people made about this much of a fuss over Photoshop, and now everyone uses it. It's part of the process. It makes things easier for artists, allows them to get more work done, makes it easier to transmit that work from one place to another. Something similar is probably going to happen with AI, but meanwhile, my approach is a hybrid, and I personally believe that is what it's all going to shake down to. People using a mix of human art, AI art, and stuff that blends the two. AI art touched up and changed and corrected and refined by human artists. That's where I think we're going to end up. So, yeah, I say writers have it worse because AI can at least describe hands. Anyway, yeah, it bothers me. I'm working through it, same as everyone else. I've got a couple of other videos on it. You can see the process of me changing, modifying my thinking, and this feedback will be some of that. But I would just say, don't do yourself out of work from people who are still employing and using human artists just because they also use AI to whatever extent. Because I may not, but other people may just end up deciding human artists aren't worth the bother. So you do yourself out of even more work in the long run. I don't know. Zang.
Ars Goetia presents classical demonology for OSR games. If you like your magic to have a little authenticity, if not reality, then Ars Goetia will give you all the tools necessary to bring classical ritual magicians and demonologists into your OSR games.
Down before your eyes, the actor screaming agonizing cries. Another useless reason to despise the secret life that everyone's nice. That secret life that everyone's nice. That secret life that everyone's nice. You're a star now. You go far now. In the Nero Daughter Show. In the Nero Daughter Show. You're on stage now. Disengage now. In the Nero Daughter Show. In the Nero Daughter Show. Nero Daughter Show.